Hello, and welcome to another episode of Sincerely Agile with Mary. Now, if you're joining us for the first time, this is a show where we want to learn, unlearn, and relearn, make change agents of ourselves. And of course, it's a platform where we want to be awesome and wholesome together. Today, we're looking at career transitioning. And as always, I am your host, Mary Lanier. And we have in the studio already, I've got Elizabeth Houghton, and I'm just going to invite her to the screen. Hello, Elizabeth.
Hi, Mary. How are you today?
I'm doing okay, but I'm a little nervous. I'm a little nervous coming online today because it's been very, very windy. I'm sure you know that as well because
Yeah.
you've just come into the United Kingdom. It's been very windy, and at my end of town, I actually had power cut. For the better part of 10 hours, I had no power. And this was a Friday. I had a meeting in the afternoon that I couldn't attend. I was in the middle of a meeting when, the power went up. So, anyway, I'm a little nervous, but fingers crossed.
Fingers
Fingers
crossed. We will see how far we can get.
We'll see how far we can get. Let's hope technology doesn't fail us because of the wind. Elizabeth, it is such a pleasure to have you on Sincerely Agile with Mary. We're streaming on YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn, and we have a few people join us already. I often like to just carry our audience along, so I'm just going to see who's joined us already. I think that is Femi there. How are you, Femi? I think that's Femi, yeah. I've got Dr. Michael. Nice to have you here. We're doing fine. Nice to have you here. Thank you very much. And we have another LinkedIn user here. I can't see your name, unfortunately. Now, Elizabeth, thank you for making time to be here with me this evening. Today, we're looking at career transitioning. I'm just going to wait for more people to join us and then I'll introduce you by reading your bio. Now, I visited your website and this is what I found on your website, and it resonates with me. It resonates with me because I'm an African woman, and this is so, so common in Africa. Your parents want you to be a doctor, a lawyer, an engineer, I don't know, a NASA scientist. Anything else is not as good. So when I saw this on your website, I was like, this, it's familiar because this is what we see all the time. So tell us, why did you put that on your website? What are you so passionate about that you have this on your website?
It's a story. Your story is a story I hear so often, and a story similar to mine with my transition out of corporate into running my own business. And everyone around us, everyone in our communities want the best for us. Our parents want the best for us. Our friends want the best for us. Our colleagues, and everyone has an opinion as well. So all of those expectations they put on us comes from an absolute place of love. But we can be doing something, and we can be making everyone else happy, but not ourselves. And when we realize that, and then when we have the courage to change and go through a career transition, actually sometimes the hardest part of that change is going back and having to tell the parents, you know what? I know I'm killing it as a lawyer and I'm making really good money and you're really proud of me, but I'm deeply unhappy and I don't want to do that anymore. Sometimes that's actually the hardest part of making the change. It's not figuring out what else you were going to do. It's having to go back and tell people who love you so much
Yes.
and want the best for you. Actually, you don't want the life that they want for you. You want something different.
Absolutely. So you're pleasing everybody else but
Yeah.
yourself. But
Yeah.
luckily, things are changing. Things are changing, luckily. And we have more people joining us. Hello, Pamela, on LinkedIn and on Facebook. So, Pam, I'm just going to, Elizabeth, I'm just going to introduce you to our audience and then we can crack on. Driven by her passion to support as many people as possible to find true work alignment and fulfillment, Elizabeth has been awarded LinkedIn Top Voice 2022 for career, advice, and guidance. Her fancy job description is Career Transition and Clarity Coach. She helps high achievers from traditional backgrounds shed the narrow version of success rammed down their throats by others. She has been featured in several UK publications discussing modern leadership approaches to create environments where all team members can thrive. When she isn't writing articles or listening to podcasts, she is a typical English tea drinker. Even in the middle of the Australian summer, she believes a cup of tea and a biscuit is the first step to solving any situation. And that is just so true. I love my cup of tea as well. So we definitely have that in common. I love my cup of tea. I actually really do love my cup of tea. It doesn't matter how or hot it is. I love my cup of tea. It is good to have you here, Elizabeth. I'm just going to crack on with my first question. Now, let us start with you. Why career transition and clarity coach for you?
So it's really born out of my experience and my experience through university and then into my corporate role and what I saw. So I went to uni, and if you're listening from the UK, you know it's at 16 you have to pick what you want to do at uni because you have to study the right A levels to get into the right course at university. How the hell at 16 are we supposed to know what we want to do? Honestly, like, we haven't experienced the world. We've been in this very nice little bubble with our parents and the people we go to school with, and we honestly don't know what's out there. But we all do it. Well, not everyone who goes to university goes through that, and I was one that went through that. I picked to study human resource management and came out with a degree in HR. Went straight in. I was one of the lucky ones that actually managed to get a job in the field that I'd studied in. And I was going along and I was good at it, but I wasn't really enjoying it. Like, I could do it. I got promotion after promotion. I worked for some amazing organizations, but there wasn't a spark there. There wasn't the passion. It was kind of living, but not really living. And then being in HR and leading HR teams, we're surrounded by people all day, kind of come the agony aunt within some organizations. And you see so many people who are in jobs and careers that are just so misaligned to their values and what makes them happy. And you see it day in, day out. And it would just be that one small change that would revolutionize their life, where they could be happy at work, get rid of that Sunday afternoon stomach churn and anxiety that so many of us have experienced and some of us are still experiencing. You know, when we turn our phones back on in the Monday morning and we see all those emails and we just dread having to go to work. It doesn't have to be that way.
It doesn't.
We need to understand who we are and what we want from work before we can start making those changes and get rid of those feelings. And no one needs to have that feeling. There's no need for it. There's the right job, the right career for everyone. So if you are, you know, Sunday evening now in the UK, so if you are starting to get that Sunday afternoon anxiety and you've wasted half your weekend worrying about work, are you in the right job for yourself? And there is another way. You don't need to have that.
Absolutely. Because it's almost Monday and you're already thinking, oh my God, do I have to go back there? Do I have to, go through this again? Anyway, we're going to talk about, how we can start making those changes, because that's the whole point of the podcast today. So because of all that anxiety, so were you feeling those anxieties? So were you happy in your job as an HR consultant? You were not happy in that job at all. And because of that, you decided to do something about it for other people who might be in the same position as yourself.
Yeah. Like, I figured out what was right for me, which is this is coaching. This is the right thing for me. And career and, just having, like, mental health is a real passion of mine as well, and looking after our own well-beings. And we spend 40 plus hours a week at work, and that is wrong for us. The impact that is having on every aspect of our life. If we can get that right, and we can get that right fairly early on in our careers,
absolutely,
wow, how much happier, healthier, and
how much happier
we're going to be.
Absolutely. And you know what? It just takes me back to the statement on your website. If I change careers, it will crush my parents. If I don't change careers, it will crush me. So we need to, not crush ourselves essentially, and get to that point of awakening or awareness, if you like, where we really want to do something about it. I mean, like I said before, I can really relate to this statement because this is so common. I mean, it's common with Asian families. It is also very, very common, with African families as well. But I think to a great extent, it is changing. To a great extent, it is changing. But there was something you said earlier. At 16, how are we supposed to even know what it is we want?
Yeah.
Right? I mean, some children are very good. They
Yeah.
from they know earlier on what exactly they want. Some already know they want to be footballers. Some
Yeah.
know they want to be a doctor. Not that the parents are forcing them to. Some children are lucky. They really really know what they want. I wasn't one of those. I wasn't at all one of those. But I knew at some point that I did fancy being a doctor. Then I fancied being a dentist, right? Because I was good in sciences. I was in the science class and I did very well in my sciences. I did very well in my maths and additional maths. And I did fancy being a doctor or a dentist. But when it came to there are two sets of examination you had to do. I didn't quite make the second mark to get in for medicine or dentistry. So I ended up in botany. Okay. And it was a time when we didn't really have much career counseling, honestly. Did
Mm.
I really want to do botany? Hell no. I didn't want to read botany, but it was the next best thing. And I just went
Yeah.
for it. Not because I was passionate about plants or anything. I just went for it because it was the next best thing. And a lot of people were in my shoes. They wanted to go in for
Yeah.
medicine or dentistry or pharmacy, and they ended up in botany. Some wanted to do the same, but ended up in zoology. There was just no career counseling. However, I could have gone back if I wanted to. If I had career counseling, I could have easily gone back to read medicine or whatever. But we
Yeah, or
just
something
didn't have it.
completely different, right? Because we
Yeah,
sometimes end up in a career by default, right? Kind of
by
like what
default.
you
Yeah,
did with botany. You ended up there by default.
yeah,
You
yeah.
didn't quite get the marks to do what you wanted to do at that
Exactly,
stage. There wasn't
exactly,
necessarily a conscious, you know what? Do I know enough about botany? Is it going
exactly.
to bring me fulfillment? Am I going to enjoy it? There wasn't that conversation. It
It
was just,
wasn't there
oh,
at
this is
all.
the thing.
It was the next best thing, and I just went for it at the time. Like you said, I mean, we were young. What exactly do we know? So there you go. And then I'm going to go for another question. Our audience, if you have any questions, please post your questions for Elizabeth. Um, I'm just going to get another question for you. Yeah, there you go. Now, is there a particular trend in the careers people are transitioning from or to? And I'm asking this question right now because of the pandemic situation. Do you find that in the last 2 years with the pandemic that people perhaps have come to the realization that, what, life is short? you know, life is short. Let me go out there and do what I'm really passionate about, what, doesn't feel like work for me. Any such thing?
Yeah, 100%. I wouldn't say there's, a set industry where everyone's leaving it in droves to go and do something else. But I think this time of us being more at home, more with our families, having a different balance in our lives, because for a lot of us, we haven't been having to do that commute for a while. We haven't been in the office. We've had the opportunity to be at home. There's been this time for people to sit back, reflect, and really go, you know what, is this job that I'm doing something I truly love?
Mm-hmm.
And do I still want to do it? And I think what's happened and what I've noticed is it's more about people are now thinking about their life as a whole instead of work and then out of work. We're now kind of going, actually, we're one person, it all combines, and both things have to support each other. And there may be points where work comes, is a bigger priority than, our personal lives and so forth. But we're now thinking of it as a whole, in ensuring that the two support each other. And how do we get that? And I think that's where this terminology, the Great Resignation, has come from, or as I like
Yeah,
to call it, the Great Reevaluation. It's not that people are giving up work and starting to travel the world or hanging out in their PJs all day. They are still working. They're just choosing to do something that suits them and
absolutely.
aligns with them so much more, and kind of taking out these default careers they've ended up in.
hmm People are definitely taking advantage of the fact that, they can work hybrid or they
Yeah,
can work from home. I remember reading an article recently, and I think this was in the US, how about 4 million people have resigned their job to go do something else. I was like,
yeah,
wow, 4 million, that is a whole lot.
yes,
But people have, like you said, people have come to that realization that, you know what, life is short.
yeah.
And I do have the choice right now, and I
Mm,
am going to leverage it. And I'm one of those people. I'm really looking for a lot of stuff I can do remotely now. I mean,
yeah,
occasionally I will travel. For example, tomorrow I'm going to be in London, working from London. But as long as I have that flexibility,
yeah.
because you know what? It's got to be the whole person now. It's got to
It's
be
a
the
whole
whole
person.
person.
That's it.
It's
Yeah,
got to
that
be the
is
whole
it.
person. Absolutely. Now, we have a question here for you. Achieve your dream. That is so. That is so cool, I guess. How do you push on those who know us better than ourselves?
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
I would question whether or not anyone knows you better than yourself.
Well,
Um,
or think they know us better
or
than
think they
ourselves.
know you.
Think.
Like
Yeah.
other people experience you, so they understand your behaviors and your triggers. So other people experience you and you never experience yourself. But when you sit back and really unpack your values and what motivates you, other people probably don't know that because there is a level of us that is guarded. There's a level of us that we don't share. But there's also, as we go through our lives, we've been molded. We've been molded and changed to fit into what is successful in the community in which we surround ourselves by. So if we just take a really basic principle, and I'm talking about this, so we tell children not to chat so much, right? Because they talk a lot, and we're like, you're too chatty, and we tell them off for talking. So we then realize as a very small child, oh, I shouldn't talk too much. Oh, I'm bossy. I shouldn't do that. So we start changing our natural behaviors so early on to be accepted in society, within our group of friends, to be liked, to be
Mm,
wanted to be around. So no one really does know you better than you. And
mm-hmm.
the journey of like career transition and career clarity is getting back to that stuff. It's kind of undoing all of those social things we've learned and going, actually, who are you? Are you the chatty one? Fantastic. Do you love chatting? Brilliant. Now, what can we do with that? You don't actually not have to chat. You can chat. We can make a job out of that for you. But if you've
Exactly.
been told don't be chatty,
Mm,
then you've probably been less chatty. Does that make sense? I know that's like a really
absolutely.
simple thing, but
Mm,
we pick up all different labels throughout our lives and we mold to them and we change to be accepted and to be
mm,
liked and to progress and to be successful in the way that is acceptable to the people around us.
yeah.
So yeah, for what I'm saying is no one knows you better than you.
Yeah, but
Yes.
when you're young, though, when you're young, it's not so easy to do. I mean, I can tell you there are so many African, children
Yeah.
who went to do medicine just to satisfy their parents, did law, did
Yeah.
engineering just to satisfy their parents, and then went on to do what they actually love to do, what
Yeah.
they actually have passion for. Because I
Mm.
mean, your typical African parent, I mean, come on, how much pushback really can you have? You're going to study medicine, you're doing engineering, and that was usually the case. But things are changing. And with social media, with the internet, with parents coming to the realization that, you know what, there is life beyond
Mm.
medicine and law and engineering. And a lot of, parents have now also come to realize that, look, there are people actually making more than doctors and lawyers on social media.
Yeah.
I mean, there's one chap, I can't remember his name now. He does a comparison video. He looks at, he shows us what someone has done, and then he shows us a better way to do it, and he does his hand like that. He doesn't say a word. This guy has just been signed up by some big brands. He doesn't say what, he just does his hands like that. And I'm
Yeah.
like, boy, So there's so much going on the internet today that has nothing to do with traditional,
Yeah.
professions. But that is where we're coming from, and that is changing very, very slowly. So, like you're saying, we need to define what success is for us. I
Yeah.
mean, some of us have taken more risk than others. Like
Mm.
I said before, I wasn't absolutely sure after I didn't get in for medicine and dentistry. Like I said, I did medicine, but sorry, I did botany, but I wasn't sure thereon what exactly I wanted to do. But luckily for me, I came to the United Kingdom, and it was the height of IT, and I took an interest in that. I went in for that, and it's been amazing for me since then. But however, somewhere along the line, I changed careers again. I've been a business owner. I'm back into, IT and, agile coaching. So for some of us, changing career is not so difficult, but for a lot of us, it can be daunting. So I can actually say I'm a high risk taker when it comes to changing careers, but not always the case. And we'll come to a question for you very shortly for that. We have more people join us now. Hello, good evening. Nice to have you here. Someone else from LinkedIn. Nice to have you here. Hello, mommy. Good evening. That's my mom from Arizona.
Hi.
Hello, good evening. How are you? Nice to have you here. Okay, so more questions for you. We've talked about the trend. Let's look at this question here. Changing careers can be daunting, like I just said, and especially for middle-aged professionals. Now, in as much as I'm a high risk taker, about 7 years ago, 6 years ago, I mean, I was already in consulting for the last, I've been in consulting for the last 14 years. But I felt I needed a change and I wasn't quite sure what to do. And it was a little tricky for me, but and scary perhaps. So I can imagine what a lot of people go through if they've been in a job for a very long time. So imagine someone who's been in a particular role for, say, 15 years, 20 years, and all of a sudden they're thinking perhaps it's time to change. But it can't be easy, especially when you're a middle aged person. It comes with a lot of anxieties. So, in your work as a coach, as a clarity coach, I like how you call yourself a clarity coach, because obviously people need help with clarity, which way to go, how do they go about it? How have you helped people who have found themselves in this space?
By really taking that step back, and being really realistic about it. And it is different, like changing career at different stages in our life.
Yeah.
There is different pressures to do that, right? So middle age, let's say, and I'm going to be really stereotypical again now. So you've got the house, you've got the white picket fence, you've got the 2 cars, you've got the 2.5 children.
Perhaps not. Perhaps not.
You've got different financial expectations at that stage in your life as to what you do potentially at 22, right?
Yeah.
So when you suddenly go, you know what, I want to walk away from a career, and it doesn't have to be one job, but a career in the same field, you want to walk away from that. You've had it for 15 years and you're now like, let's go. Your bills are still going to come, right? Like we can't ignore like the facts of the matter that your bank isn't suddenly going to be like, it's okay, don't worry for a while, you don't need to pay your mortgage. Your landlord's not going to do that either. They're not going to be happy if you suddenly stop paying your rent because you want to figure out you. So there is a point of practicality in going through that process. And then the next step, once you've kind of figured out, well, what is that practicality? What is the buffer I have to have behind me? What is the amount of money I have to earn? If I change careers, what is the lowest salary I can take? But then what is the lowest salary I should be taking? Because just because you're changing careers doesn't mean you start at the bottom again.
No,
you bring
don't.
a whole bunch of experience with you and
transferable skills.
Yeah. And so many of us struggle with talking about those transferable skills, highlighting them and selling them or telling stories around them in a way that is marketable to another employer in a completely different industry. So we also work on that as well. Well, how do I start talking about me, right? So I did a decade in human resource management. I'm now a career transition coach. How do I talk about that? How do I take the skills I learned over there for a decade into what I do now? And that is the same for all of us. It doesn't matter how many years we've had in employment. We have a whole bunch of stuff to continue to offer, but we need to understand that. We need to unpack that. And then the daunting side of the stuff that you kind of go through, and that's, that's our limiting beliefs that come in. That's the stories we're telling ourselves. If you follow me on LinkedIn, you'll know I call the meanest girl I ever know that lives inside my own head. That's our inner voice.
Yeah.
The person that isn't always our biggest cheerleader. And a little bit of imposter syndrome seeps in, right? We're a bit like, oh, I can't do that. Oh, no. You can. You really can. So it's about building yourself back up and having that self-belief and starting to be kind to yourself as well. Watching those stories you're telling yourself and doing like a circuit breaker. Like, is it really true? Is that thing you've just told yourself you can't do? Can you actually not do it? Where's the truth in that story? Mm-hmm. Or is it fear that's stopping you? And we work through that stuff.
Yeah. And I like what you said. The bills keep coming. So we need to be really strategic about it. And the good thing about it is if you're trying to change jobs, you don't have to leave the one you're doing in a hurry. You don't have to. And you can start training. I mean, the imposter syndrome will come. The doubts will come, like you said, all the limiting beliefs. But since you're not being pushed out, it's, a matter of choice, you wanting to change careers, then I think you can do it in a very, systematic way, if you like. First, what else? Okay, if it's not this job, then what is it? Is it a new business? Is it another role entirely? What do I need to, what trainings do I need to do? And the good thing about transitioning today is that there are a lot of communities out there. For me, that will always be my starting point if I'm, having this discussion with anybody. I'm like, okay.
Can I just read out a comment someone's put in that I really like? So changing career takes boldness and courage, especially if you require to.
Let me bring that up.
Redo a certification, and I love that, and it is so true. It's that courage piece. It does take boldness. It is so scary to actually start putting ourselves first and saying, I am unhappy in what I am doing. I want to do something else. And that is such a brave statement. And then to start moving towards, okay, well, what is that something else? And if you have to go back to school or university, or even, you need to do part-time study to go into your new profession that you've chosen is right for you. Well, how are you going to fit that in? You've already got a full-time job. Presumably, most of us would keep that full-time job while we're retraining.
Exactly.
Bills. And how do you fit all of that in? What is the schedule for that? What is the thing you're kind of going to, press pause on or pull back a little bit in your life to have the time to invest in that retraining? And love that statement. It is so true.
Absolutely. It takes a lot of courage. And I actually, if I go back to my question, I'm going to bring this one up. I said here, career transitioning comes with several challenges. Time, finance, learning anxiety, of course, the age, lack of experience, new network, to mention a few. I mean, you talked about imposter syndrome earlier on. So let's just analyze a few of these. Now, time is critical. How can we better manage our time? And this, bearing in mind that you are perhaps currently in a role that takes, the better part of your day. How can we begin to factor in the fact that, we need to make time if we want to change career?
And like we can't really make time, right? There's only so many hours in every day, and we all have commitments, right? But if it's the time to retrain potentially, then is there something in your life that you can pause? Can you stop watching 2 hours of Netflix every night, or not go on social media? Is there something you can give up? And sometimes it's really small things that you just do not realize are eating into the time you have. And it's should always, or hopefully always, just be a short-term kind of loss of something, a short-term pause on something. It's not giving it up forever. I'm never going to do this again. It's okay, right now, that thing that I'm doing, that thing that I'm spending an hour a week on actually is not as important to me as doing this for my career. And you can have that thing back once you've, retrained and got to where you want to go in your career. It's not you're never going to do it again, but it's having that way up of, okay, well, what are the things right now that are really important to me, and where am I going to put the time? Because generally speaking, we put time into stuff that is really important to us. What I would say with career transition, there is, like you said on there, there's that anxiety that comes up, there's a fear that comes up, and sometimes that gets us confused about our time and how we use our time.
Absolutely. And you know what? I can so relate to, delayed gratification, because essentially that's what you're saying.
Yeah.
I was lucky in the sense that when I decided to then, get into the agile space, I mean, I've been in the agile space now for just over 6 years. I had the privilege that I was already self-employed. So
Mm.
I could put in as much time as I wanted, and I did. In as much as I was self-employed, it also meant I had to be disciplined. Some other things had to go. I hardly watched television, because for me, I had my eyes on, being an enterprise agile coach. I needed to fast track myself there. So I was working 10, 13 hours a day. I was studying 10,
Mm.
13 hours a day. Honestly, I was. I did, but for me, like you said, that was so important to me.
Yeah.
It was so important to me, for me to establish myself in the agile world. So
Mm.
I just, kept at it. So talking about time, there will only ever be 24 hours a day,
Yeah.
like you said. So we just need to prioritize our time, knowing that something has to give. You have to decide what has to give.
That's
Now,
it.
let's talk about finance. Now, I know how much I have spent in the last 5 years. I have spent a lot educating myself, training
Mm-hmm.
myself, going through all sorts of competencies and certification training. It doesn't come cheap. However, one of the ways we can start is to, like I said before, join communities.
Mm.
There are a lot of webinars out there that people can also join to at least have that initial feel of, okay, what exactly is it do I want to do? Is this really what I want? By joining those communities, you begin to have a feel of that. So when it comes to finances, what can you say about that?
Yeah, so just continuing on what you said, like
Yeah.
I would never recommend jumping into a master's or a degree or a really big financial commitment when you're thinking of a new career
Yeah.
straight up. Try and do everything you can to experience it first. So join
First.
communities. LinkedIn is a great place to start. I encourage all of my clients to do this. Go on LinkedIn and find people with the job titles or doing what you think you want to do, and have informational interviews with them. Drop them a message and say, hey, I love what you're doing. I'm thinking of transitioning into this. Do you have 20 minutes to have a chat with me? Now, not everyone will come back to you, but you will be surprised by the amount of people that will give you 20 minutes of their time to talk to you about what they do. So really take the time to do your research, figure out if it is what you want to do, and ask for the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Yeah.
No job is a bed of roses every single day, right? That's not realistic. There is going to be the bad bits, but are they the bad bits that you can cope with? Are they okay? Because overall, you're going to be loving what you're doing. So have conversations with people already doing what you want to do or something similar to what you want to do. And don't just ask them for the good stuff. Make sure they're not sugarcoating it for you.
Yeah.
Ask them the tough questions. And then start looking at, okay, do I actually really need a qualification to do this? Or do I already have the skills and the experience, my past work experience, to get into this field before I invest in training? Depending on how that goes, it might be no, actually, if you've never been a doctor before and you suddenly want to be a doctor, you kind of need to go and do training, right? You can't do that on the side as a side hustle. That's not going to work. But if it will, give it a go. Test it out. Dip your toe in the water. If you do retrain, you're not on your own. And if you are based in the UK, at this moment in time, you're actually really lucky. There is a whole bunch of grants out there. There is so many organizations out there that will actually help you get funding to retrain.
Fantastic.
So do your research, look into stuff. Google will become your best friend. But if you've started to network in that industry community, there will be people in that community that know the answers, will know, oh yeah, no, actually, so-and-so down the road is doing an apprenticeship, or in 3 months' time, there's a free 6-month trial for X happening, or it's a challenge that you can join in and that will build up your skills. So Yes, finances come into it from a training perspective and a learning perspective, but there is always help out there.
Absolutely.
And if there isn't, then sit down and think to yourself, actually, how much can I commit? What is the length of this journey for me? And it doesn't matter if it's going to be a really long journey. You know, if you need to study part-time and that's going to take you, you know, 2 more years than what it would do if you did it full-time, it doesn't matter, because if you know that's what you want, this is something you're going to be doing for a long time. So investing, you know, an extra 2 years before you get there, it is worth it. It is worth the investment.
It is worth it. If you want it bad enough, you will give it what it deserves. And I like the fact you talked about LinkedIn and how you can ask for help on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
And you know what? People really are kind. People are generous. And like you said, you will be surprised. Some people will actually respond and they will give you 30 minutes of their time. I mean, a lady reached out to me about 2 weeks ago, and I have scheduled a 30-minute session with her. She wants to come into the Agile space. She wants me to, you know, just give her a heads up of, you know, what the expectations are. No, actually, she's already in the Agile space, but she wants to step up to the next level. So I'm having a 30-minute session with her. There are so many people out there like that that will do exactly the same. So don't be afraid to ask.
No.
It's yes or no, but you'll be surprised. You will have a lot of yeses. And LinkedIn also, LinkedIn Learning is a good place to start. LinkedIn Learning, if you're a premium member, I think I pay £20 a month, which is not too bad. For £20 a month, you can learn a lot on LinkedIn Learning, a whole lot on LinkedIn Learning. I mean, I learned about DevOps on LinkedIn Learning. I started my DevOps training on LinkedIn Learning. So if you're a premium member and you're looking to change your career, LinkedIn Learning is a good place to start. Now, learning anxiety. The older we get, perhaps, the more difficult it becomes, right? So perhaps, what do we do about that? I mean, one of the things I say to people is, it doesn't have to be 3 hours a day. It doesn't have to be 10 hours a day. Just give it 30 minutes.
Minutes a day. It really doesn't
20
matter.
minutes.
It honestly doesn't matter. Like, and there is a lot of anxiety around that, and it comes from all different things. But if we think about the sayings we hear, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. Wow, that's a story we tell ourselves. That's a limiting belief we've just had, because we've decided we've got to an age where we can no longer change our behavior. We can no longer learn anything. And it's the stuff that's in society that kind of tells us that we're being forced all the time. So we do need to break down those barriers. I have dyslexia. So I have a whole bunch of learning anxiety that comes up when I'm like, oh, I need to learn something new. And then all these flashbacks from school come and how hard it was for me. But it's okay. You're not in a race, right? The only
exactly.
Yourself,
the only competition is yourself. You want to be better than you were yesterday. Forget about the person on the right or the person on the left. Just, you know, like we say, stay on your lane. If it takes you a year, if it takes you 3 years, just stay on your lane and have a plan. Have a plan.
And that is the key, right? That is the key, having the plan. And you don't have to sit down and study. You know, what you did was amazing, Mary. You know, 15-hour days to get to where you wanted to do. But if you can't do that, that is okay. Go at your pace.
Yeah.
If you have a whole bunch of learning anxiety for whatever reason it may be, you're also not on your own.
Yeah.
You might not have the people in your network right now that can help you, but you can definitely get those people into your network. I've been studying for an online counselling diploma back in Australia, because I've just moved back. I'm back in the UK from Australia, and I found this whole community of people who are studying it as well, and we chat to each other and we help each other along. We're all at different spots, but we talk about it. And for me, that was really helpful, because it was like, actually, online learning isn't for me. I need a conversation with someone. Who can I reach out to? And I didn't know these people to start with, and I actively went looking for people doing the same course as me, found a group of people, have a really good community around me, and we can all do that. So again, that takes boldness and courage. We go back to that comment, and I love those words of putting ourselves out there, stepping outside of our comfort zone and putting our hand up saying, hey, I'm doing this. Who else is doing this?
Yeah.
Can we maybe once a month jump on a Zoom for 20 minutes just to discuss progress and answer any questions we might be stuck on and try and help each other up? So you're never in it on your own.
You're never there on your own. You're never going through it on your own at all. And that is the beauty of the way we're learning these days. I mean, there's hardly any training firm that doesn't come up with this idea of a cohort or of a
Yeah.
community. So you finish the training, and by the time you're done with the training, you have a community to,
Yeah.
to continuously, learn from, learning from each other. It's really amazing. I mean, I do that with my cohort as well. And Buki is saying this session is for me as I am currently struggling with time management in my bid to change career. Well, you heard what she said. There's only 24 hours in a day. Something has to give, Buki. So what you need to do is take stock. Where are you spending your time?
Yeah.
Are you in groups where you are chatting too much? Are you on Netflix too much? I mean, take for example, like I said earlier on, I was studying 10 hours, 13 hours a day. And I'm serious about this. I did that. Of course, I would have breaks in between. I've only just started watching Game of Thrones.
Right, and this is a thing. Like we joke about TV, and I know not everyone watches TV, but
Yeah,
we don't have to watch it like we did as kids, right? Like
no,
we can now stream it, so it's cool. Like
exactly.
we can be really far behind, but we can.
I'm so far behind when it comes to all these big, big movies on Netflix. I've only just started watching Game of Thrones. I said
That's
to my daughter,
okay.
I need to watch something just to relax. What can I watch? Said, oh, Game of Thrones. And she put it on for me. I've only just started and I'm watching just one episode a day. I'm not binging on it. So it's my
Yes.
respite time. So,
Yeah.
Buki, you need to ask yourself, what do you need to let go of? Because I did that. I let go of practically everything except eating and cooking for my family and doing the very, very needful. I let go of even partying and all of that. So
Yeah.
you need to ask yourself, what is not adding value to your life right now and that is taking your time? I mean, for example, there are a lot of us belong to a lot of groups these days.
Mm.
Being a member of those groups take time.
Yeah.
Okay, it does take time, and 90% of the chats there perhaps does not add value to your life. Come out of that group if it does, if it's no use to you. So take stock. There's only
Mhm.
ever going to be 24 hours in a day. So take stock, Bookie, especially if you want to become an agilist. I mean, he's in my cohort and he's training to be an agilist. You need
Ah,
to find the time, Bookie. You need to find the time. You
yeah.
need to make time.
Because
Meetups help. Someone here says meetups helped my imposter syndrome. That is so true.
yeah,
That is
yeah,
so true. Honestly, there are so many meetups out there. If you're trying to change your career, go to Meetup. There'll be something there for you.
yeah. It
There's
definitely will
something
be.
there for you on Meetup. People are actually giving up their time to
Mm.
put up all these webinars and meetups. So take advantage of it. People are kind. Absolutely, people are kind. And Yemi says networking in the community, it is important. There are
Yeah,
people that are ready to help. People are
yeah,
always ready to help. We only need to ask, right? We only need to ask. Another LinkedIn user says people are kinder and more approachable than we think. Absolutely.
yes.
The first step is to ask. Thank you very much. The first step is to ask. Now, this is a long one, Dr. Michael. I thought I would be a lawyer by choice, not imposed by my parents, but I somehow found myself in technology. Since I had to complete undergrad before law, I took the computer science route and somehow got stuck in it. For me, I made a commitment to succeed the right way, never the wrong way, and was determined to learn how via education and what I can learn from those ahead of me also from those ahead of me so I could avoid the mistakes they made because I like nice things and have to afford them and was willing to. Well, that's a lovely story. And one of the things we're doing here on this podcast is we want people who are coming behind us to do better than we did. I mean, I've often said that on this platform it's about learning, unlearning, and relearning. It's
Yeah,
about being change agents and it's about being awesome and wholesome together. And we mean that. And we're talking about career transitioning today because people will genuinely find themselves in this situation.
hmm,
They will, where they want to transition, but they are stuck. They want to
yeah,
transition, but they're anxious. They are not they don't quite have the clarity of mind of what
yeah,
exactly it is they want to do. Someone here today might be listening and thinking, you know what? I think I have better clarity after this show. That is what we're doing here today, Dr. Michael. We want people, coming behind us to do better. We want parents to, guide their children, not impose, professions on them. So parents also need a lot of unlearning to do. I mean, my generation is much better than my parents' generation and their parents' generation. I mean, our generation today, our children, they do what they want to do and we just guide them. I'm sure there are still some parents out there who feel, my son has to be a doctor or a lawyer. My daughter, she's studying law in London, but she always wanted to be a lawyer. That, I mean, like I said before, some children know what they want. She's always wanted to be a lawyer ever since she read, I think, The Merchant of Venice. She's always wanted to be a lawyer. So some children know what they want to do. My son has always wanted to be an architect. He hasn't changed his mind yet, but that's what he's always wanted to do. So yeah, it's important that people coming behind us do better, faster, and faster than we did. In a nutshell, I did what could support my lifestyle and not what I wanted to do. What use is it to do what you want to do when it will not support? Well, that is neither here nor there. Sometimes, and I want to come back to what you said earlier, that sometimes our parents force us to do certain things. Now, one of the reasons also that parents traditionally would want their children to be a lawyer, doctor, or engineer was because those professions were very well paid and they were prestigious and all of that. And of course, we all want our bills to be paid. Now, if your son comes to you and says, I'm an artist 30 years ago, you'll be like, will that pay your bills? I mean, that's what your parents will tell you. How about your bills? How successful can you become with painting? Or you want to be a musician? We all see how many people go to, what do you call this, Simon Cowell's show? What do you call it? What's it called again?
Is it British Talent? No, X Factor.
X Factor. Okay, look at all the people that apply, but how many people actually get it? So
Yeah.
imagine where you don't have a backup plan. So what your parents would tell you normally would be, you know what, you go have a degree. Have a degree as your foundation, have a degree as your backup plan, and you can go and pursue your singing career or your fashion career or whatever. If it doesn't work, then you have this to fall back to. So, Dr. Michael, I totally understand what you're saying, but hey, if you have a job that is paying your bill and you're not happy in it, of course, you might want to change that, and that is okay too. That is
Yeah.
okay. And she's saying very true. I just finished a master's in psychology after 18 years in HR, and I'm looking to be a counselor. I'm looking for a job and will start training. I've been thinking about this, so this session is so timely. It's uncanny. That's lovely. That's lovely. I'm happy this resonates with you.
Good
So,
luck with your new career in
yeah,
counselling. I'm sure you will find many organisations actually right now that are supporting that
absolutely.
training specifically just because of, I don't like talking too much about COVID, but because of the mental health impact that has had, I have seen quite a few organisations pop up that are willing to help and support training. So I wish you all the best of luck with that, and hopefully you can get an employer to
Yeah.
help you out with those bills.
How about she connects with you? LinkedIn user, I don't know if this is Pamela, your name is not showing. How about you connect with Elizabeth? Because she's talking a lot about grants. Perhaps she can talk, give you some hints and tips about grants as well, and organizations that are perhaps really leaning towards, having someone in counseling within the organization. So link up with her on LinkedIn. I'm going to share her LinkedIn profile very shortly. So this is why we do what we do. Somebody needs it. Learning to prioritize and maybe having a learning backlog with possible targets and deadlines may be helpful. Absolutely. Absolutely. I have my Kanban board. I have my digital Kanban board and I put everything I want to do on there. I do. So visualize your work, visualize your priorities. And there's just this feeling about getting things to done, isn't it? It's like you can almost reward yourself.
I love ticking stuff off, so I love a good tick.
Absolutely. Done, done, done. Better clarity. Okay, better clarity. Good, good. Loving this conversation. Many people need help to change in their career. I was helped and I'm grateful. Well done, Yemi. Well done. Somebody says true to some conversation there. Thank you. I'll look as well. Thank you. Yes, I'd love to connect. Yes, I will. My name is Ozio Fu. Okay. Please connect with her, Elizabeth Houghton. I'm going to share her link very shortly. And I have my dear friend, yes. Sorry, I'm late. You're not late, Stella. You're welcome anytime. We'll catch up. Of course, you will. Nice to have you here as always. Love a to-do list, don't we all? I absolutely love a to-do list. I absolutely love a to-do list. Thank you all so much for your comments. Thank you for sharing your time with us. Um, what else can you tell us, Elizabeth, about career transitioning?
Just go for it. If you've got this nagging feeling inside you and you're like, you know what, I don't think this job is for me, I don't think this career choice is for me, don't be stopped by your fear. Take the time to sit back and really understand, well, what is it do you want? What is going to bring you fulfillment? Life is really short, okay? And it is far too short to spend 40 to 50 hours a week doing something that doesn't light you up, that doesn't bring you joy. And yeah, I'm a realist. Every moment of every day at work is not going to bring you a whole bunch of joy. There are going to be moments where you're like, oh my God, I don't want this meeting. Oh my God, I can't believe someone just sent me that email. Moments of that is okay, but if that is, more of the time than this joy and the excitement, then really start thinking about what else is there for you. Build a network, build a really strong, varied network. Anything that you think is a possibility for you, it is a possibility. You don't have to fit into a defined job title. So we're so often we're like, oh, I'm going to be a project manager.
Yeah.
Because you kind of we know that terminology, right? That terminology makes sense when we start to look at job adverts and apply for roles. But we don't have to fit into a job title. We're actually in a position now where if we understand ourselves really well, we understand our skill set and we understand what we can offer organizations, we can brand ourselves in any way we want in the market to ensure that we craft a role that works for us. And if you are unhappy in your current job, is it because of your job? Or is it because of your leader? Or is it because they don't value you? Do you need to change? Or do you just need to have a conversation and say, hey, look, you know what? I want these two things changed in my job description. I don't want to do those two things anymore. I'm happy to do, if I really have to do them, I'm happy to do them. But I'd really like to do this over here. I've seen you've been doing this stuff and this stuff looks really interesting. Can I get involved in that? So sometimes it's not about these really scary, audacious, big changes that we feel we need. Sometimes it's just tiny little tweaks to what we're currently doing to bring us more joy.
What I hear you saying there is the awareness of what exactly it is you are feeling. Why am I feeling this way? Why am I unhappy? Is it actually the job? Is it the people around me? Is it my boss? What is it? You need to really figure that out, because only then can you take the right make the right move. Now, we've shared a lot of tips here today. We've talked about time. We've talked about finances, because at the end of the day, you will at some point have to spend money. And if you don't have to leave your job in a hurry, then you can start saving some money towards that. But more importantly, you don't always have to fork out so much, because like we said earlier on, for your subscription fee on LinkedIn, you have access to LinkedIn Learning. And LinkedIn Learning is so rich, it's unbelievable. It is so rich, it is unbelievable. So you have LinkedIn Learning available to you. Manage your time well by deprioritizing other things you do that don't add value to your life. Go to meetups, attend webinars. There are a lot of free webinars out there. A lot. You only need to find the one that falls into your arena and make yourself available to attend those ones. You'll be amazed what you can learn. And not only that, you are likely to find people who are also changing careers, and they can be your buddy, and then you can encourage one another and meet frequently. Ask for help on LinkedIn. Like we said before, you'll be amazed what people are willing to do for people. We have more questions here or comments. Ronke says, oh, great discussion. Thank you, Dr. Michael. Really enlightening conversation. Thank you. I have transitioned a couple of times, and every time has been worth it. Fantastic. It's hard work, but worth it. Honestly, whoever is saying that, it is hard work. Like I said,
Yeah.
I extended my consulting into the agile space. And you know what? It's one of the best decisions I have made. I've only been in the agile space for 6 years, but I tell you, I'm loving it. I'm absolutely loving it. I often say I feel like a footballer because I love what I do. I feel like I'm kicking the ball around like a footballer because I absolutely love what I do. So we all need to find that thing that we love doing because life is too short. Life is too short. Stella says, put down on paper what it is you like and don't like about your job. More clarity on paper, I feel. Absolutely. Whether it's on paper, whether it's on what document, why, what is making you feel the way you're feeling. And I like, Stella, you're saying what you like and what you don't like. We have to be intentional about these things. We have to be conscious of exactly what it is that we want. Thank you very much for
Can
that.
I share a quick tip on that one?
Yeah,
I
yeah.
love using a traffic light system. So pick up your post-it notes you want green, amber, and red. For 1 week, get your post-it notes, and if you've done something you really dislike and don't ever want to do again, put that on your red. If it's a so-so, it goes in amber. So you can live with it, but you don't live it. And the green is all the stuff you love. And that will give you a really clear
Mm,
vision of what is it in your current role you don't enjoy, what
mm,
is the stuff you love, what is the stuff you can put up with. And if there's not that much green, if it's weighing more towards the red, then it's probably a career transition. If there is quite a lot of green but there's a few reds, maybe it's just a conversation with your current organization about tweaking your role to make it work
mm.
better for you.
I like that traffic light approach. So green means this is lovely.
Yeah.
Amber, I can perhaps live with it. Red, nah. So
No,
that's a good one. That's a good one. My mentor, coach, cheerleader helped me with my career path. She's the host of Sincerely Agile with Mary. Thank you. um, have a good LinkedIn strategy, and magic happens on that platform. Stella here, she's a LinkedIn enthusiast. And of course, if you want to change career, this is a great tip Stella is giving you here. Have your LinkedIn profile done properly. So once you're ready for that, make sure you can be found for what it is you want to do as well. Um, Excellent points you're making. Absolutely. Thank you very much, Elizabeth. Thank you so much. You ladies are making some very excellent points. Very lovely. Also, Africa is developing, and almost every domain industry is open. Wouldn't be nice to encourage folks to tap into this space and start something that people really want to do? Absolutely. Africa is opening. I mean, recently, I think it was Flutterwave. They've just got about 250 million pumped into their business. There are a lot of startups. Like I said, the mindset is shifting. Parents are moving away from all this. You have to be a doctor and a lawyer and an engineer mindset. They are all moving away from that because the in fact the entertainment space is crazy. Look at what is happening with entertainment. I mean, who would have thought we'll be on our beds and we'll be streaming? There's just so much, there's just too much out there, too much. So we shouldn't cage our children. If our children have talents, let them go ahead and do that. If you're a parent that is biased towards university education, it doesn't stop, them from also pursuing music career or painting or whatever else it is that they like to do. So we must let them explore all that they can possibly explore and just guide them in whatever it is that they want to do. We are almost coming to the top of the hour. Elizabeth, I cannot thank you enough. This is her LinkedIn handle. Link up with her. She's an amazing woman. She puts out a lot of great content out there. And she has this website, certainfullpotential.com. Certainfullpotential.com. I really like that. So check her out, her website, and please link up with her. She's amazing and she does a fantastic job. Okay, and I like what you put on your website. On your website, you said career coaching for high achievers to pursue non-traditional life and career paths without guilt. I like that, without guilt. I
yeah,
really like that. So pursue whatever it is you like.
yeah,
If you like a university degree, go for it. If you also want to pursue something else, go for it. I mean, one of the things I still would like to do is learn Spanish or French.
Oh wow! My nan learned Spanish later in
Okay.
life. It was my nan when she learned Spanish, so a lot later in life. She loves it. So
Oh,
you're never
that's cool.
you're
I
never
was
too old
beginning
to
to think
learn something
I
new,
was
right?
too old to learn a language, but I'll give it a go. I'll give it a go. So
Yeah.
thank you all very much. Thank you so much. Vocational education and training is brilliant option too.
Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, I usually don't like to keep to the hour, so I'm just going to say thank you to all our audience. Thank you for spending your Sunday evening with us. Thank you so much, Elizabeth, for being a great guest on Sincerely Agile with Mary. We will be back next Sunday, and next Sunday we're going to be talking about career as well. And we're going to have Eno Eka from Canada. She's going to be talking about how immigrants can, get themselves into great jobs. That's a topic you don't want to miss. Thank you all so much. Thank you so much. Elizabeth, thank you so much.
Thank
See you
you.
again next Sunday, same time, same place. Bye bye.
Bye.